So, hey guys, today we're going to be talking about somewhat the meta, I guess. So, the thing I think that I hate the most about Yu-Gi-Oh is specifically whenever everyone is playing the same deck. So, there are a few aspects to this, but we'll start with this. Mirrors suck ass. They're horrible because there is a clear advantage usually in the mirror, and this is usually called the advantage of going first. There are a few exceptions to this where, maybe a deck is better off going into itself going second. For some reason, like with Kashtira, for example, um, yeah, if you were to make Kashtira Shankra Era, this and then activate this on your opponent's turn, this allows your opponent to summon any Kashtira monster and then go into Arise Heart, do battle with like just whatever, and then go ahead and Zeus your entire board. And there is no way you can respond to this or do anything about this. Well, not with your engine cards at least. So if you hard opened, I guess a Solemn or something, that could maybe do it, right? But aside from that, you just get Zeused, and then both players are just trying to top deck, and it's kind of like just miserable regardless. Here's another one. If we have Vanquish Soul, do you guys know the biggest weakness of Vanquish Soul? Well, I should do. It's non-targeting removal. So if we go, for example, chain link 1, or basically just the lowest chain link that we're able to as a player with removal. So we'll assume I'm playing, of course, I guess it'll be Vanquish Soul into Vanquish Soul, right? So if I were to activate Soul Dust Double, non-targeting Book of Moon, and then we have the fact of Caesar Valius, non-target pop, and then we have non-targeting board wipe because Raigeki doesn't target, it just wipes the whole damn board. It ain't targeting nothing. So if we activate any of those effects, or even Dr. Madlove's effect to return, this doesn't target either. So all of these effects, if you were to like normal summon Razin, you will just lose. And even if you have other Vanquish Soul cards, because you're going second here, you still lose. So yeah, you're essentially just cooked. And it is not even close, right? Because you just don't have many ways to put bodies on the field. So you have Special Summon Pantera, but that's like probably a one of Pantera, so no point even considering that. Aside from that, you have like 3 Stake Your Soul, and then you have your normal summon, so it'd be like you either normal summon Razin or you normal summon Dr. Madlove. Trigger the effect or not, it doesn't really matter. And then your opponent, if they were to then do Soul Dust Devil, then this would book Razin, and then you would not be able to link off into Rock of the Vanquisher, and you would not be able to tag out because this requires essentially a face-up Vanquish Soul monster to activate any of these effects. So if this gets booked, you actually do not have the ability to play unless you have like Stake Your Soul to reveal some monster. And then special summon another guy, and then maybe you could tag out that guy, you could activate that guy's effect, depending on what attribute you reveal. But then, of course, after that occurs, Vanquish Soul, Snow Devil, board wipe effect. And then you genuinely have no ways to special summon any other monsters except for exactly Pantera, which is a 1-0. So it's not even really super worth consideration, and I don't think anyone will be playing Pluton for the most part. So yeah, even then, Pluton, I think this would be probably a 1-of, right? Surely not 2. No one would play this at like 3 or 2, I don't think. So, alright, yeah. That's cooked, ain't it? And then you know what? After we use Snow Devil, we could still technically feasibly take out into Caesar Valius for one more just non-target removal here. One form of non-targeting removal. And yeah, that's just literally unplayable. And there's nothing you can really do about this with the mirror. It's just like whoever goes first kind of wins. Well, unless you have like hand traps for this, which is almost a little bit of a different topic. But you know, if we're just pitting engine versus engine, you can see how inherently the engine just obliterates itself. But if we were to be playing against a different deck, like for example Kishtira, uh, normal Sun Rosin, new chain, trigger Fenrir, and then you can like tag out against the Fenrir with Caesar Valius or something. Borger doesn't really matter. You could even add Borger to tag out with Rosin for this play, and then you could link off, I guess, the Borger, special summon Rosin later. We could even go ahead and mess with the chain link order. So like if there was a Fenrir or a Rizehard or something, we could summon the Rosin in that zone, and then we go like chain link 1 Fenrir, chain link 2 Borger, chain link 3 Rosin to destroy Fenrir, and then tag out for Borger still. You have an idea like that, right? And it would be kind of playable going second. I mean, that's like a specific hand, but doable, right? Because we can dodge the targeting effects, and we could dodge a Rise Heart that way as well, technically, right? So, yeah. If we just analyze most mirrors, it's something like that, because for some reason it tends to happen where, well, it's not for literally every single deck, right? But a lot of the time, your own boss monsters brutalize your own kind of archetype. For some reason, it just becomes playable. And this happens all over the place, like, for example, with Altergeist. Well, you know what Altergeist wouldn't like? A Snatch Steal, so I don't know. Let's say you want to do normal 7 Milliseek. If you just negate Milliseek, doesn't stop the graveyard effect. But you know what would stop this? Snatch Steal. Just take the Milliseek, you know? And then what? You can't really do anything. And yeah, you're kind of cooked. And what was this say? Exactly, if you activate a trap card. So does this negate activations? Let's see. Negate the activation. Oh wow, it counters, Hexia counters Multifaker, because if you negate the activation, that card did not activate. Therefore, Multifaker does not trigger. Great. That's cooked as well, isn't it? And you know, while you're here, I guess, you know, you would still have protocol effect, so none of your cards would be negated. And if you were playing like floodgates, like for example Secret Village or something like that, that wouldn't work against your opponent because they're also on altar guys. Like, yeah, the matchup seems like you're not going to be able to beat your own deck's kind of end board with your engine, like just pretty much all the time. So, right. There's that, and now onto the main topic. Because of this, this is an aspect to it for sure. It sucks to play against the same deck over and over again. And that is not the only thing, I guess. If one deck is just the best deck, clearly above all others, right? Then you're really incentivized to play that deck because everyone else is playing it, and everything else is not even really on the table because it just cannot compete at all. For example, with like Tearlament, most of the players in the game, that there were a few decks you could play, but for the most part, it was just like Tearlament. It was probably above 50% play rate, where above 50% of the players, just at any given moment during that meta, were just on Tearlament, right? So you matchmake into tier, you get tiered, right? And it becomes somewhat coin flip dependent because, you know, if you get to go first, you get to make Dweller, you get to put your Shufflers in the graveyard, but yeah, it's mainly Dweller, I guess. And then, you know, this wasn't that terrible, for instance, to some other things, I guess, because you're both playing on the turn, because turn 0 plays like Happiness existed, and we have like ideas like sending a Miller with orange light to trigger on your opponent's turn. So like maybe Tearlament would be the exception to this, but for the most part, guy go first, you go second, you are in just really unfavored, even more so than in a regular duel, right? Because if you were to go like Vanquish Soul into cash, you'd be a lot more fine, or something like I guess Vanquish Soul into I guess Voiceless Voice, that'd be also fine. You actually have some plays because non-target removal is actually somewhat rare, so you'd be doing a little bit better in those cases. But then there's also just the aspect of it's just being tiresome to play against the same deck over and over again, even if it's not a mirror, right? So in this case, for example, like Ryzeal and Malice, like it wouldn't even matter that Ryzeal would be broken or not, like if it's exceptionally strong or not. It's just if you play against the same deck over and over again, like regardless of winning or losing, or even if you're just playing the same deck over and over again, the game just kind of stales and you're just doing the same motions over and over again. And sometimes it gets to the point where you've just already played this game before. And by that, I mean like you've played so many games of literally just like this deck versus that deck, or just the mirror with this deck, that you just already know exactly how the game is going to go because you've already had it happen like 3-4 times, and you already know maybe like, oh, this guy could misplay here and it's fine because they still have this effect or that card or whatever, right? And it's just a terrible situation, I'd say. So yeah, if if or whenever there's just an exceptionally high play rate deck, it doesn't even have to be a good deck, honestly. So Blue Eyes, pre-Primite, for example, I don't think that deck was that crazy, but dude, all I was playing against whenever the Blue Eyes support released was just Blue Eyes over and over again. And after the Primite stuff was released, I mean, it was a bit of a different flavor playing against that, I guess, because now they had the Primite cards. But I was still playing against Blue Eyes every single time. And the Blue Eyes combo, right? Exhilarating stuff. Normal summon Sage, link off for the link 1, activate link 1 effect, field spell effect, send effect, activate the link 1 effect again, that type of stuff. And also I guess Sage with Eyes of Blue, search Maiden, and then you can like activate Maiden, so Maiden will special summon itself whenever you summon that Blue Eyes White Dragon. And then you use this to make like 2 Synchro 9s. And then we go like tag out for Ultimate Spirit, tag out for Crimson Dragon, target Ultimate, tag out into Cipher Divine, I believe. Was that the name of the card? That guy. And then you just well, actually, do we go Crimson here actually to do that? Or do you just directly tag out into it from Spirit? I think you tag out into that guy with Spirit, maybe. We'll see. Give it a second. I'm pretty sure like you tag out somehow. It doesn't really matter how we're tagging out, right? Oh wait, you tag out into Crimson, which then tags out into that guy. Because you can tag out into Ultimate Spirit. Right. But, same stuff, same deal. And then, Wishes Search and all that. Epic. Well, I've seen that line like a million times before. And then I guess you could also, in that line, I think you normal summon Sage. Additionally, you can do that to add like Effect Veiler as well. So yeah, I may have seen that combo like 100 times because I just ended up playing against the deck a lot. And you know, even if the deck were bad, so same kind of thing would be happening where I just see that combo over and over again, and I would know, oh, I immediately lose here, or damn, I definitely win here. But also, I have to wait out this combo, and it's kind of like just boring, I guess. But even then, like that, well, what is there? No, there's actually really nothing. It's just boring, and all I'm doing at this point is I'm not even looking at the combo anymore. I'm just counting my opponent's cards in hand and double checking. Okay, what cards do I know? That means effect failure. They have that in hand. They discard this card. They have one card left. So that card is most definitely a hand trap. They did not discard that. They discard like maybe a blue eyes for wishes. Okay, so now I'm going to be thinking like, okay, I used Ash earlier and they didn't have a trigger in response, so it's not a raw quick effect kind of hand trap, and they did keep it, so it's not a Mulcharmy. You would have tossed probably a Mulcharmy, but maybe not because you had a Blue Eyes, so I'm expecting maybe Effect Veiler or something. They didn't set it, so it's not going to be Imperm. It's still possibly like a Purge or something like that, but you might want to set Purge, I think. Does this prevent you from activating anything? No. I guess it could be Purge in hand then. So play around, I guess, Purge, and maybe play around double effect failure. We know it wouldn't be Max C in this case because they didn't have a trigger when I used my hand trap earlier, and then they used like Called By or whatever. Or would they have used Called By? No, they just tanked it because they just had the search target in their hand already. So something like that, right? So that is to say, like at some point, it feels like you're just doing, I guess, math homework because you've already seen the questions before. You know the answers. You just have to solve, I guess. You know, and it's a lot more fun when I guess you're reading cards, seeing things you haven't seen before, instead of seeing the same things over and over again. And I mean, it's not that unreasonable to want to see new things because you know the card pool is like insane for this game, right? Insanely large. There's also a bunch of like random vanilla monsters, but that's besides the point, right? So like, you know, during that time, like what else was available? Like I don't know, Testina or something that was around. Exodia support drop as well. Exodia support's like also kind of bland. You're just kind of cycling through cards at best. So yeah, not great. But now that I think about it, there was a thing you could actually do. It's not like necessarily the greatest, but well, yeah, with the Fiendsmith cards, you could make Agnumde and then turn this into Silohat, and then you just have like Lacrima plus Agnumde in the graveyard. And then you go like turn this into Silohat. Silohat gets you an interruption. Then next turn, yeah, the Silohat will be shuffled back because of Exodia's effect, or like Ankh effect or something like that. And then next turn you in like Lacrima bring back Agnumde. Agnumde tags into like Desiree. That's like an additional interruption, I guess. That's something. But you know, after I've seen that once, seeing that again, like every single time afterwards that I see that, it becomes like less and less exciting, less and less interesting, you know, because I've already seen it before. And that just kind of applies to everything to an extent, you know? And I mean, just for the purposes of having fun and not just like grinding ranks and stuff, I think it's just a lot more fun when there's like a large variety of decks, and specifically decks or synergies you didn't know about, things you haven't seen before. That's when Yu-Gi-Oh, for me at least, is at its most fun, when deck diversity is high and you're able to play a lot more, I guess, you know? So you're not stuck playing the same three decks or seeing the same three decks over and over again. or even less, the same two decks, the same singular deck over and over again as well. And this doesn't have to do with necessarily just simply the deck strength. It could also simply be because the deck is popular as well. It just feels unfun to play against the same deck over and over again. And also, as it happens, mirrors are just terrible. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.